Hey there, welcome back to Retro Tech Toys. Today we're going to be taking a look at something that I'm really excited about. This is a project that I have been wanting to do for a while. I finally acquired a 486 desktop, and we'll be taking a look at it today. We're going to tear it down, clean it up, and see if anything needs to be repaired or see what we can upgrade, install an operating system, and basically just kind of see what it can do. One really cool thing about this 486 is that I paid $2 for it at an estate sale. This is a really cool find, and I'm so excited to share it with everybody. Let's get started. Alright, welcome back. This is the 486 that we're going to have a look at. This is a Packard Bell multimedia, and it's got a 486 processor inside. As you can probably see from the sticker, it has no hard drive. We've got reset and turbo button there. We have a power button. We've got a 3.5 floppy drive, a 5.25 floppy drive, and a CD-ROM drive. So all pretty standard stuff that you'd expect in a 486. And we're going to open it up and see what's inside. All right, let's turn it around and I can show you some of the ports and expansion slots on the back. All right, here's the back of it. There are no mounting screws, so I'll have to think of something there, but that's not a big deal. We're also missing 2 covers here, but that's also not a problem. So we've got a keyboard and a mouse, PS2 port, and that's good. I was afraid it would be something else, but it's not. We have our VGA port, and we've got a modem that's kind of hard installed up here. I don't know if I can get that out, and I'll probably just leave it in. And then you've got your serial port, etc., and your power supply. Looks like we've got a little service code on here when this was serviced, so I haven't opened it up yet, so I'm kind of curious to see what that is. But that's the back of the computer, so nothing too crazy. Let's go ahead and open it up, and we'll see what's inside. All right, we're now on the inside of the computer. These Packard Bell multimedia computers typically came stock with a 486SX CPU, but this one seems to have a 486 DX2. It looks like we have 2 memory slots with 1 chip installed already, and we have an ISA expansion card here. We've got all the typical stuff inside, just cables and all that. There's no other expansions plugged in. Looking over here, we've got the original Packard Bell power supply, so I'll need to open that up and look at capacitors before I do anything like try to power this on. So for now, we've had a look here. I'm going to go off of camera and disassemble this, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have this power supply open, and it is really dusty. I don't want to use anything except for this brush. No compressed air for now. I just want to get in there with a brush and carefully get out what I can. And even though this PC hasn't been powered on in probably years, I'm going to be safe and careful and not touch anything crazy. Alright, anyway, there's a dust cloud because I had to blow some of that off my desk. And this looks a lot better, just kind of going in there and giving it a good scrub. So I'm happy about that. I think this is good enough for now that I can get this put back together. And we'll get the case cleaned out and we'll get the power supply put back in just to see if it works, if we're getting magic smoke or anything like that. But for now, let's set this aside and let's look at the motherboard. All right, we're looking at the motherboard now, and it's pretty dusty. I don't see anything that looks like leaky capacitors, but we do have one pretty big problem. And let me see if I can flip this around so you can see. I don't know how well you can see that, but we have a Varda battery that is leaking, and there's a lot of corrosion there. I don't think it's anything that can't be cleaned off. I think we caught this in due time. So what I'd like to go ahead and do is flip this over and desolder this Varda battery. And I do not have a desoldering gun. I'm going to use my soldering iron and just carefully get under there and see if I can get this loose. I'm not going to twist anything. I'm not breaking anything. That's just ridiculous. We don't do that. Let's go ahead and have a look at this. What I'll end up doing probably is grabbing it from down here and then heating these points up to see if we can't get this off. All right, I'm back. I have my soldering gun here. I'm just waiting for it to heat up. You want to be careful not to hurt the board. And we don't want to lift any pads up either. It came right out. No issues that I can see. Varda battery gone. It looks to me like we did one heck of a job. So that's taken care of. Later I'll install a CR2032 or something like that. And we don't need it right now, but I'm just happy to have that off. Now we've got to clean up some of this corrosion, and we can go ahead and start with that now. All right, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to get all these little plastic mounts off. This is where that modem was attached. I've decided I'm just going to keep it off permanently. So basically, they're tabs. You just squeeze them, and you pull. Just like that. Let's go ahead and get this RAM out. Set it to the side. And I want to get the CPU out as well. Just go ahead and get this out. I'm going to set this carefully to the side. The good news is, if that CPU is messed up, I have another one. I also have a DX2 100. I don't know if this board would take that. We could always try, but I don't really want to. I want to keep this as a DX2 66 megahertz. I'm bringing this bowl over here. This is a small bowl that I've put some IPA in, and I'm just going to take and get some of this dust and stuff off with it. And we want to clean where this Varda battery was as well. I think we'll go ahead and do that now. See how it cleans up. My main concern was that barrel battery was right there by surface mounted chip. I want to be really careful not to dislodge that. That's why I didn't want to use a heat gun to get this off. I do have a heat gun, but that could do damage to the board, and you really want to be careful with these capacitors that are still in place, and like I said, the surface mounted chips. Okay, this board looks so much better now. One issue is if you look over here at this surface mounted chip, there is a little bit of corrosion, but I don't think it's going to affect anything. And I'm just gonna leave it cleaned with IPA and see if that'll work. I'm gonna quickly flip this board over and get the other side clean as well, while we wait for this side to dry. All right, we've got a clean power supply, a clean motherboard. We're going to set this aside and let it dry, and then we'll reinstall the processor and all that good stuff. But for now, let's have a look at the drives that the computer came with. I'm actually going to check and see if I have a CD writer that would fit in there better. This drive is really disgusting. I will probably keep it and test it later. If we're going to keep a CD drive in there, let's just upgrade it if possible. So I'm going to wipe the surface off here. I can't imagine what the inside looks like. One thing really quick is I want to clean off this ISA expansion. I'm telling you, if you want a really good tool to clean computers with, these Salon Care hair dye brushes are fantastic. If you're anywhere near a Sally Beauty Supply or anything like that, or a place that sells salon supplies, these are cheap and they last forever. You get a good little dip of this, shake it off, and you can clean whole surfaces. And you can even get in there and get hard to reach things. All right, that looks so much better. We're going to set this aside and let this dry for a while. If you look at this drive right here, it is positively disgusting. We're going to clean this up. I'm actually probably going to remove this from the computer because I do have another of these around somewhere that's clean. I've recently cleaned the heads on it, and I will clean this one up. But I'm going to do something else besides this because a 486 doesn't really need a 5 1/4, even though I really like 5 1/4 floppy drives. I'd like to do something else, and I need that 5 1/4 slot to do that, and I don't want to take the CD drive out. So this is the next logical choice. So we'll clean this up. I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to clean it up off camera, and maybe I'll do a separate video of just cleaning this guy up and seeing if it works. But for now, I'm going to set this to the side, and I'm going to concentrate on the other drive. All right, this one I'm probably going to have to take apart. I probably can't show you, but if you look in there, it is so dusty and caked in and gross. First of all, I'm going to get this bracket off, and then we'll look at taking this thing apart, cleaning the heads and all that, if we can. Just like that, the bracket comes off. Quite simple. Just a few screws. All right, let's set this aside here. And what we want to do is, I'm going to take this brush and just get in there and brush things out the best that I can. This is just the residue that was left over and some of the dust that was left over after I did the can of air. Alright, we've got a Q-tip here. I've got just a little bit of IPA on there. As you can see, it's really dusty and kind of nasty in there. I don't know if you can actually see that. But we're just going to go in there and clean that off. And I mean, you can lift it up a little bit if you really need to do that, but don't go crazy. You don't want to snap anything. These plastics are really old. But just use a clean side of your Q-tip and wipe that head off. Get the dust out of there. Alright, so that just slides back on like so. And we're going to screw it back into place. And that's it. That's our floppy drive all cleaned out. Ready to do business. Alright, we're getting pretty close to reassembly. We have to figure out what parts we have on hand if we want to add anything else to it. We're already adding a compact flash reader and a compact flash card for the hard drive. There's also this. This is actually a Packard Bell sound card. This is kind of what I have on hand right now. The computer did not come with its own sound card, and we're going to want sound, and this is a Packard Bell just like it. So it's also ISA, so we should be good. It looks really clean. And I just had this sitting around in my parts bin. I think it might have been from the other Packard Bell that I refurbished recently, but we're going to use it in the 486. What we want to do now is we want to clean the top and the bottom part of the case off, and that shouldn't be a big deal. It's not that bad. I'm probably not going to do any retro brighting here. I know I say that a lot, but I'm not going to do something like that unless it's serious, and I really don't mind the color of this, so let's just clean it off and see if we can make it look nice. First, let's start with this sticker that was just put on there on the estate sale to let me know that there was no hard drive. And this is lens cleaner. I just want to use something light. I don't want to go too heavy on this paint and plastic. I'm just going to use some lens cleaner and give this a good wipe down. It's the same stuff I'd use on eyeglasses or a TV screen. All right, now here's something pretty surprising. I thought that was scratched paint and that I wasn't going to be able to get that off. And I thought maybe I'd have to paint over it, but no. Wiped it with the lens cleaner and that just came right off. I mean, there's a little ding in there, but you can barely tell. I mean, after you clean it off, it just looks great. So I'm really excited and happy about that. And what we're left with is this kind of sticker that you always see on these things. It's like, warranty void if you open this. Let's see what we can do about that. It's sort of stuck on there. I might need to get some Goo Gone. Let's hit it with the lens cleaner just to see what we can do. We We have lightened this up a lot, but it's not completely off, but it's getting a lot better. This is a paint scraper. I use it to peel 3D prints off. I'm going to just very lightly. What I'm doing is I'm not really scraping. I'm just kind of rubbing against the adhesive to see if I can loosen it. And then I'm applying a little bit more lens cleaner. Okay, eventually with a little elbow grease and just rubbing with my rag, I was able to get most of that off. I mean, you can't even tell that it's on there if you're just kind of looking straight at it. You've got to get really close. And in the future, I might come through and, put a little Goo Gone or something on there, but I'm pretty happy with this. It looks good. So let's move on. Okay, next up, we've got the bottom case, and it looks pretty nasty. So let's just kind of get all the parts out of it. Instead of giving this a brush, we're just going to get in there and wipe it down. All right, I don't know about you, but I think that looks a lot better. Now, you might be saying to yourself, hey man, you could have taken that out somewhere and sprayed it down. And yeah, I could have. It's just metal. There's nothing else in there that would get hurt. But I kind of wanted to go over it myself and wipe it down and give it a good hand cleaning. Because even if I use a sprayer, I'm afraid that I might miss a couple of parts or miss a couple of things that are important. There might be some dirt hiding in there somewhere. Plus, I just kind of like to go through there and use old-fashioned elbow grease. Either way is fine. There's nothing wrong with doing either way. This is just how I like to do it. As you can see, I don't know if that'll translate properly on film, but look at that. It's pretty gross. And this thing's ready to put back together, so let's start doing that. All right, we're starting to get to the point where we can get this put back together now. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Go ahead and slide our motherboard in like so. Alright, the motherboard is back in place, nice and snug. We're going to go ahead and insert this ISA extension card. This actually has a little bracket thing here that we've got to use. It's hard to see from here, but I got some cables that I'm going to reconnect. And that was basically all the buttons on the front. That's all taken care of now. And I'm going to pop this RAM chip in. And on the back of the RAM chip, it says 1x32, so I don't know if that's a 32 megabyte chip. If it is, that's pretty cool. I'll have to dig around and see if I have anything that will go with that, but I don't really believe I do. All right, I'm going to go off camera and put a sound card in and a few other things and get it put back together, and I'll be right back. All right, it's put back together. I went ahead and cut forward past the assembly process just because this video is getting really long. Went ahead and put a Sound Blaster 16 in there and installed an XT to IDE card with a compact flash card that's about 1 gigabyte in size, just because it was having issues with some of the other stuff. And I went ahead and put a new CD-ROM in, and I put the 5.25 drive back in, and I put the 3.5 drive back in that came with the PC because I got them all cleaned out. All right, now here's the moment of truth, everyone. We've got it built, we've got it put together. It's looking great, so let's turn it on and see what happens. Well, the CD-ROM's booting up, and you're going to see a reference ID 20. I think that's related to the battery. The battery's not in there, of course, and as you see, real-time clock failure. But that's all right. Let's keep going. And as you see, we have 8 megabytes of RAM. And we're using onboard video, and as I mentioned, we've got a sound blaster in there. Now I know what we all want to do. We want to check and see how games run on it. So let's do that. Let's see what we have. All right, we played a couple of games. Everything looks good there. We don't have a lot on here yet, but I did want to show you that Windows for Workgroups version 3.11 is on here, and it does work really well. I've got everything set up. Of course, Windows 3.11 or Windows 95 would be your preferred operating system if you were going outside of DOS. It's all set up for a nice game of solitaire. And that's it for the 486. It's restored. It works beautifully. There are no problems whatsoever. We got that battery removed and everything taken care of before it leaked all over the board and ruined a bunch of things. It boots up. It runs. We've got a sound blaster installed. We've got a compact flash hard drive in there. That's 1 gigabyte in size. The CD-ROM works. All of the disk drives work. And I'm really excited and happy about this. And you'll be seeing this a lot more in the future. Like I said in the intro, I've been wanting a 486 for some time. And I'm sorry it's taken so long to get this video out. I had to wait for some parts to come in so that I could get this thing running properly. I didn't want to do a half-baked job of putting this thing together. I wanted to do it right. And we've got a whole lot more videos coming up. And a quick announcement, we have surpassed 1,000 subscribers. So thank you everyone for liking and subscribing. If you like the content and you haven't subscribed yet, we'd much appreciate having you around. Just hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get notifications when we release new videos. We'll be back with more videos. And again, thank you for watching Retro Tech Toys. We'll see you next time.